Now let's move on to Whitaker-Burmite. I think Whitaker-Burmite is a very important issue to our city. It's our 1,000 acres in the middle of the city that we're looking for a cleanup. And Rick Drew is president of the Citizens Advisory Group. And so let's give Rick a big hand as he'll give us an update on what's going on.
Well, again, thank you for coming. I just talked last month, so some of you have already heard the spiel. We did have a Citizens Advisory Group for Whitaker-Burmite on July 2nd, and they're moving right along with the cleanup of the Burmite site. The Operational Unit 5, which is between Soledad and the first ridge line, has been cleaned up. All the soil's been cleaned up. They're moving thousands and thousands of cubic yards of dirt now. They've moved well over 800,000 cubic yards of dirt, and they've cleaned up close to that amount so far. Let's see what else. Oh, we got our maps. Just got the Is there a my little goodie work? No, I guess it doesn't. Anyway, there's a map of the Whitaker-Burmite site. You can see the OUs 1 through 6. Those are operational units. That's the way they've divided up all the property. They've cleaned up OU 1, which was cleaned up in 2010. They're going to have to re-clean some of that because that's where they're cleaning up the rest of the soils. OU 5 is at the top of the map there, which runs right along Soledad. It's next to the train station also. Part of the train station has been cleaned up. The soils in the train station has been cleaned up. There's also a soil vapor extraction mechanism there, a big vacuum pump up towards the railroad tracks on the west side. And that's sucking out a bunch of what they call volatile organic compounds, the carcinogens that are in the soils that they have to pull out before they can clean up the rest of the perchlorate. There's 9 soil vapor extraction systems in on the whole property. The area that you can see OU5 basically is the area that they've just cleaned up. They're working on the area of OU2, which is down towards Circle J, which is at the south of the property. OU2, OU6, they're working in that area also. They're moving, like I said, they're moving tons and tons of dirt. What they do is they clean the dirt. They excavate the dirt. They put it into what they call a pug mill and inject, or they mix it with glycerin and sugars and water. Then they take what comes out of the mill, they put it into big treatment pads that are 125 feet long, 25 foot wide, and 5 foot deep. They put all that dirt in there, cover it with black plastic, let it sit from 40 to 60 days. Generally, that's the time limit when it's hot, closer to 40 days when we have heat like this. As soon as it's done, they test the soils, and if the soils prove to be clean, then they take that dirt, put it right back where they found it. It's then compacted and try to put back to its natural gradients, and then they all the places that they've excavated, they then hydroseed with natural seeds, and for the natural plants and stuff to come back, the chaparral and whatever. So anyway, they're moving right along. They're working now on the water treatment plant. It's well underway right along Soledad Canyon Road, just to the east of the property, right where the railroad tracks comes out to Soledad Canyon from the Newhall train station. That area, all the piping and everything is in. They're building this water treatment plant. It should be operational within the year. And then they'll be treating 60,000 gallons of groundwater a day that they pull off of the property. There's another map of the thing. It's kind of hard to see, but the property's in the center. there's a line that goes way out to the left of that map, which is part of the perchlorate plume. And that's the perchlorate that's spread off of the property. And it's contaminated several drinking wells in Santa Clarita. There's 2 wells, the Saugus 1 and 2 wells, which are next to Saugus Cafe and also next to Magic Mountain Parkway and the river. Those 2 were contaminated quite a while ago. They've been in operation almost 10 years. They were down for almost 10 years. Now they're treating those for the perchlorate at the over by Lowe's. There's a treatment center over there, Rio Vista Treatment Center, and they go through a treatment there. Then that water is blended with state water at a rate of 6-to-1, and that's put into the drinking water. They've been having some problems. These VOCs I was talking about, which are the volatile organic compounds, are starting to show up in trace amounts into the water. They've done a study to try to find where it's coming from. The study proved that it was coming from Burmite. It was also coming from an area called the Saugus Industrial Center, which is right along the railroad tracks. It's where the Kaiser Century vinyl plant used to be. So they're still working on getting funding to treat the VOCs also. Right now, CLWA is just treating perchlorate. But the perchlorate plume is spread clear to where the McBean Transit Center is on McBean and Valencia Boulevard. The plume is has gone that far. CLWA and the water companies are building some more. They're looking into drilling new water on the west side, on the other west of I-5, and also I believe it's west of Magic Mountain to try to get some more wells in operation. Also, there's some wells that they're trying to use as a curtain to keep the plume from spreading any farther, and they're working on that also. Anyway, whoops. I screwed up now, Al. We have a video that we were going to show. Scott, who's a new member of our CAG, happens to own a little drone. And a couple of weekends, he decided to go about the Burmite area and take some pictures. And so that's what we have here. He basically started over towards the Circle J area, came in from the west. And this is that's looking down into what they call Burn Valley. And that's where they did a lot of testing, and there was depleted uranium in that area. And that area right there cannot be cleaned up to a residential standard. They'll never be able to clean it up to where residents can live on it. We're a couple hundred feet above the property. That's the road there. That's the main road that goes through the whole property. It starts out at next to the train station, goes underneath railroad tracks, and then up around. It goes all the way over to Golden Valley. This property stretches all the way from, like I say, the Santa Clarita train station. It goes all the way to Circle J, and then it goes all the way over to Golden Valley. It's you get up on the top up there. There's I believe there's. We'll see it soon. There's a water tank, an old water tank that's on the top. It's almost the very top of the property. And you go up on there, you can see Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valencia from that one point, all in just one panorama. It's just absolutely gorgeous up there. And so when they do get this all complete, which was supposed to be the end of this year, now it's been pushed back to 2017. And my joke is I've been doing this for over 8 years, and every year they tell us it's 3 to 5 years, and we're still working on 3 to 5 years. So they're looking at having the grounds cleaned up by 2017. That's the goal right now. This is up on, let's see. That's at Burn Valley? Oh, okay, you're looking down into Burn Valley. Burn Valley, they used to have 2 big buildings, one on each end, and they used to shoot missiles between the buildings. And they used to they used to test fire, their ammunition and everything else they did. There was a big concentration of depleted uranium there, but they cleaned that all up, took that all to Utah. This whole area right there, well, where are we at here, Scott? This over towards the Circle J?
We're right near the gated community of Circle J.
Okay, well, in this area, there's four landfills. They're called the hula bowls, and they used them as landfills. They dumped all kinds of things in there, then they covered them up. The DTSC has given the contractors the okay to go in there, and they have to go in and sift through all these landfills, look for unexploded ordnances for one, but also for any chemicals or whatever. They only think that two of the areas might be contaminated. Most of it's just junk that they're going to have to go through. Anyway, this right there at the bottom is a soil vapor extraction unit. That's one of the 9 that they have on the property. They have tubes going out from those, pipes going out from those, and they're sucking all the VOCs out of the ground. They have to get the VOCs cleaned before they can clean the chlorate and the dirt. This is the treatment pads where they're like I said, they're 125 feet long. Those are just full of dirt. They're 5 to 6 feet high, 25 foot wide, 125 feet long. They just put all that in there in a muddy texture and put the black tarps over them and let them cook for 40 to 60 days. And the organisms in the soil eats the glycerin and the sugars that they put in, plus the perchlorate. And then the little boogers die after they run out of food. But that's how they're treating them. This is one of the biggest perchlorate treatments in the world. They've never attempted this procedure this large in the whole world. So that's something to, apparently it's working. Like I say, they test the soil before they pull it out of there. They pull the soils out of there, put it back where they got it from. And then they also have built these retention ponds. So if and when we ever have any kind of rain, they catch all the groundwater or all the runoff is caught in all these retention ponds. Then the water's tested. They might use it back in the back on the property, or they'll send it through the water treatment plant when they have one water treatment plant there now, but it only processes 200 gallons a minute. But the water tables are so low right now that there's hardly any water being treated at all. Those are office trailers. There was buildings all over the property. Anyway, that was our little aerial tour. There was buildings all over the property, and there was contamination next to all the buildings. Well, all the buildings have been torn down, and those are the areas that they are cleaning the contamination up. Like I say, they keep saying 3 to 5 years, but now we're down to 2 years, so we'll see. We keep working, and they keep working, and we'll keep an eye on them. Our next CAG meeting will be in November. It's November 2nd. We hold it at the Santa Clarita United Methodist Church on Bouquet Canyon Road, right there across from Presidente Restaurant, 7 o'clock in the evening. And this inter-jurisdictional or multi-jurisdictional meetings are the meetings the city holds at City Hall that day, but it's at 3:30 in the afternoon, which isn't conducive to a lot of people that have to work. Usually they have all the players in there's Whitaker there, there's CLWA there, the city's there, and also the Department of Toxic Substance Control. Sometimes the public health department's there also. And everybody makes a report and talks about what's going on. We find out that it's another 3 to 5 years. So anyway, that's what's going on right now. Like I say, our next meeting is at November 2nd. It's a Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock at the Methodist Church. Everybody's invited, and we keep working on keeping an eye on them and make sure this thing gets cleaned up, and hopefully it'll be less than 3 to 5 years, but I'm not holding my breath. Any questions? Sure.
I'm Joan Dunn, and I have a question. How is the funding going? Is the insurance company still picking it up?
So far, the funding has been that Whitaker's has been insured through AIG, and then there was another insurance company prior to that they had. The insurance is still good until 2019. What they've got, they're making sure that the insurance is going to pay all the way through the water cleanup, which could be 30 to 40 years.
Oh, boy.
They've been in negotiations. They sued the United States government, Department of Defense, and there's been some action taken where one of the insurance companies is getting 2/3 of their payouts reimbursed by the government, because apparently, it was all government work they were doing up there. AIG, I believe, is getting paid, basically getting half of theirs returned. They've been in negotiations with that, with the federal government, so that's what's been going on. But the insurance is what's basically been paying the whole thing. The water companies right now are in negotiations with them to pay for the VOC cleanup. Right now, they've only got agreements to pay for the perchlorate, but being the VOCs are showing up, they're having to renegotiate so that they have money to start treating the VOCs. When the water treatment plant gets online on the property, that when they treat all the groundwater from the property, that will not only be a perchlorate treatment, it'll also be a VOC treatment. The treatment plant at Lowe's is only for perchlorate. They use a resin base that put the water through, and it takes out the perchlorate, but the VOCs are in minute trace elements, and so they blend it, so then you never, they're blending at 6:1. So, all the water people say that, the solution to pollution is dilution, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Okay, well, the thing I'm wondering then, are the water companies, am I hearing that then if there are these VOCs that they are going to have to be paying for that?
Water companies are in negotiations with Whitaker right now.
So, that means
to get more money.
Okay.
Which is through the insurance companies, but then the insurance companies have sued the federal government, which means that the taxpayers are going to be paying because the federal government's going to be paying part of it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? All right, Al. It's your ballgame.